The Madlanga Commission once again heard about the mess that is the city of Ekurhuleni. Now, we understand that the Madlanga Commission has heard before about activities of especially the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department in their assistance of the criminal syndicates run by people like Kat Matlala, Hangwani Malutsi, Katiso Malefe, etc. But the story in Ekurhuleni just looks really bad. And how's this for a bit of news? Yesterday at the Madlanga Commission, we heard from former Ekurhuleni city manager, Dr. Imogen Mashazi, who has had a very, very checkered history in her role as city manager. Now, just to put it in perspective, the city manager is like the CEO of the city. They're the people that actually run the day-to-day operations of the city. And it's a highly paid job, and you're meant to have a whole lot of skills, which apparently Dr. Mashazi has. But it wasn't clear if one listened to her testimony at the Madlanga Commission. What came out was some startling allegations against the senior officers from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department raping and violating young female subordinates in the Metro Police, having children with women against their will within that service. These allegations first surfaced in 2016 and were reported by the victims directly to the city manager, Dr. Mashazi. And for 9 years, she did nothing about it and then retired. She argued that she did do something. She introduced an empowerment program, which was meant to help women in law enforcement not become sex slaves. I kid you not, I'm not making this up. That was her plan to help these women. Her testimony was so bad that I thought Justice Madlanga himself was going to have a heart attack, because he really got into her unbelievably bad testimony and chastised her for doing absolutely nothing to assist the victims. 2 female officers were raped and impregnated by an officer, and they are ready to testify in camera to the commission. But yet the city manager wouldn't do anything about it. This Dr. Mashazi directly implicated at the commission the now suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Chief, Isaac Mapayeye, who fathered multiple children with staff members at the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. She said that she would do nothing about it and then swept it under her very dirty carpet for 9 years. So much for the decision recently made to declare gender-based violence a national disaster. Let's start here. Dr. Mashazi continued to say that it was open season, her words, open season to anybody who wanted to exploit these young women employees. And obviously there's a power imbalance. These are junior subordinate people trying to keep their jobs. The boss comes along and he's pushing his luck and there's no one to turn to. They go to the city manager and the city manager says, I couldn't do anything, these were her own words, because there was no formal complaint. In other words, nothing put down on paper. These people went to her. Why didn't she take their complaint and write it down and get them to sign it herself? Now, it wasn't just the rape and abuse of junior people that happened in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. There was also the whole situation that we heard so much of earlier in this commission about how the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department was aiding and abetting Kat Matlala in his criminal activities. They registered his cars, they did security for him, they helped him assassinate people, they did all kinds of things that you would not expect a police department to do. It got so bad that even that department called IPID, which is meant to sort of keep police in check, and I don't think I've ever done anything, recommended that the city should charge their Deputy Chief of Police, Julius Mkhwanazi, because of his dealings with Kat Matlala. Even IPID did that. You know how rare it is for IPID to have done anything. That's how bad Julius Mkhwanazi must have been. But Mashazi defended the fact that she did nothing about these criminal allegations because the paperwork that she got from IPID was incomplete. So therefore, there was nothing for her to do about it, even though she's city manager. According to Ekurhuleni Municipality Head of Employee Relations, Xolani Ntsiza, she told him, "You guys hate Julius. Leave him alone," after he had reported more criminal activities. It is just mind-blowing what's coming out of Ekurhuleni, and we just hope that everybody remembers this, that when they vote in the next local government elections. The Madlanga Commission is going to hear from Senzo Mkhunu today. That should be quite interesting. On to our next thing, and I know this is going to be hard to believe because it seems like everybody in the Hawks is corrupt. But it turns out there may be one or two people that are not yet, captured by our criminal syndicates and maybe trying to do a job. They arrested 5 people, including SAFM presenter Nonkululeko Mantula, who is a presenter on SAFM. They've been arrested for the recruitment of mercenaries to go and fight for Russia. These are very, very serious charges. Just before you get too excited, one person who was not arrested was Duduzile Zuma Sombudla, but she's been charged by her sister because she recruited some of their family members and sent them off to Russia to go and fight. However, Duduzile Zuma Sombudla did resign from the MK in Parliament. So there's something. But, we'll always in South Africa, as we understand our policing, we'll go after the small figures, not the big figures. In this case, 5 people that have been arrested. Now, apparently these 5 people were actively recruiting young men to go to fight in this war. And it seems like if you've got 5 people recruiting, and we know the efforts of Duduzile already because we've seen the WhatsApps on the WhatsApp group, we've heard that Duduzile's group had 17 people that are currently on the front line in Ukraine. But this thing may, in fact, be a lot bigger than we understand it to be. Now, we understand that Russia is desperately short of troops. They have raided all of their regional towns of young men. They've got soldiers in from North Korea. They've got soldiers in from some of their vassal states in Africa to fight in this war. And now they've got South Africans. And it all works because you have people like Mantula recruiting these young soldiers who don't know better. They're going there on the promise of training as bodyguards. And I presume the pictures that they're going to protect these very important Mkhonto weSizwe politicians. And when they arrive there, they have to sign a document written in Russian, which basically is signing up to the army, and off they go to the front line. Now, Mantula is the co-chair of the BRICS Journalist Association, and apparently she's an expert fact-checker. So she really knows what she's doing here. She's also been in Russia twice this year. There is this infatuation in certain circles with Russia. I think people confuse the Russia of today with the USSR of 40 years ago. It's 2 different places, but clearly that fact hasn't been checked. This whole action puts the South African government in a really difficult position. Because you'll remember after the eruption of first the Ukrainian war, when Russia invaded Ukraine, South Africa was one of the few countries that wouldn't condemn the invasion of a sovereign state. Said, no, we're not supporting Russia. We're just not condemning Russia. We're just nice guys. And immediately it became perfectly clear, especially when we did military maneuvers with the Russian Navy, that where South Africa's loyalties lay in this particular war, not with the invaded, but with the invader. Soon after that war erupted, another conflict broke out, and that was in Israel and Palestine, after the activities of Hamas on October the 7th, 2023. And some South African men went and fought for the Israeli Defense Force. And DIRCO, our Department of International Relations, were all over this to say this is highly illegal. No South African may be involved in another war, and it's this law and it's in the Constitution, which it is. Now, having been so strident about Israelis or young Jewish men joining the Israeli Defense Force and highlighting which law they're breaking, it's going to be very hard for them to sit on their hands now that we've got proof that a political party, the opposition party, maybe not officially, but certainly some of their members, are recruiting people to go and fight in a foreign war. This is going to be a go straight to jail situation. This isn't hard. Your fancy lawyers aren't going to help keep you out of jail. So this is a problem for South Africa, and it doesn't look good, especially in the light of our strained international relations, especially with the USA. Because in this case, we are really perhaps not necessarily backing the right horse, and the right play would have been for us to stay well away. We know that we recently had the G20, and we had to hear Cyril Ramaphosa tell us all what a wonderful job we did as South Africans in helping to put the G20 summit together, and what a wonderful country it is. And we've got all of these messages from leaders, especially from European countries, telling us all what wonderful people us South Africans are. And he told us all in his televised address that this is a great country. There's no real mention of our murder rate, which means that more people have been killed in South Africa since the start of the Ukrainian war than Ukrainians, and more South Africans have been killed than Gazans in the same period of time. And then we've got the war against women. But anyway, we are the good guys. Ask Cyril. If you don't believe me, ask him. He then also made a speech. Remember when those 2 planes arrived with carrying Palestinian refugees, that he went there with those big eyes saying, you know, we are the guys, we're a caring country, even though this may not be legal, we will accept these refugees because refugees, and we're the nice guys. Well, now he's announced that he has banned any further flights of Palestinian refugees to South Africa. So I'm not sure whether he was telling us exactly what he felt then or what's happened, but anyway, I think that's going to be the end of the Palestinians, apparently. But maybe we can use that one fighter jet. Remember that one fighter jet that was buzzing all over Johannesburg? And the G20, maybe we can use that to stop planes from coming from Palestine. So let's see how that goes. While we're on the G20 and the plane buzzing around, for those of you who are watching that aren't from Johannesburg, I can confirm that the G20 is now over, and the performance of our city people, our city governors and the city of Johannesburg is back to where it was before. City's getting, the maintenance has been done, not any more of it. Street lights are starting to stop working. We don't see the traffic cops, I presume, until late at night. And it's business as usual. The G20 is over. We will see you before the elections. I think that's all we're ever going to see out of our city of Johannesburg. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on the Political Insider. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again next time on the Political Insider.